Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American psychological thriller horror film from 2025, titled Play Dead. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The movie opens with a woman named Allison waking up in an unfamiliar basement, surrounded by the corpses of 4 women. She notices blood on her fingers and realizes she has been injured on the side of her stomach. Using her cell phone to look around, she sees the bodies and struggles to suppress a scream. Allison attempts to call for help, but there is no signal. Despite the pain from her injury, she manages to crawl toward the stairs in search of reception. Unfortunately, her phone battery dies before she can make contact. Suddenly, she hears footsteps approaching the basement. Acting quickly, Allison crawls back to the area where the bodies are and pretends to be dead. Moments later, their abductor, a sadistic, heavy-set man wearing a mask, enters the basement and walks over to a table. Several masks are visible hanging on the wall, and when the man removes his mask, the camera does not reveal his face. He takes out a needle and thread and carefully stitches a tear in the mask before putting it back on. He then approaches the bodies, lifts one of the corpses, turns off the basement light, and leaves with it. Once the area is clear, Allison crawls to the table, searching for something to treat her injury. She takes the needle and thread and painfully stitches the wound herself, enduring the agony. After finishing, she suddenly hears strange noises behind her, coming from one of the women she believed was dead, who is still alive. Allison approaches the woman and tries to calm her down as she panics after realizing where she is. Allison explains that they are in a basement and recalls being kidnapped after arriving home from work. She tells the woman that since their kidnapper believes they are dead, they must continue pretending until they find a way to escape. The woman introduces herself as Emily, and explains that she was abducted at Esprit Park while walking to her car. Emily complains of severe pain in her stomach, and it becomes clear that she also has an injury in the same area. Allison places Emily's hands over her wound to apply pressure and goes to the table to look for something to dress the injury. However, Emily is unable to endure the pain and faints, and minutes later, the killer begins approaching the basement. Allison quickly attempts to rearrange the sewing items, but accidentally knocks of a gum onto the floor. She manages to lie still and play dead just before the masked man enters the room. The killer picks up another woman's body, but as he leaves, he steps on the gum, making him suspicious. He returns to the table and notices blood on the sewing items. Grabbing a knife, he stands silently, watching the women to see if any of them move, but unfortunately, Emily regains consciousness. The masked man immediately slashes her throat, killing her, and then leaves the basement with another corpse. After the killer is gone, Allison breaks down in tears over Emily's death, and at that moment, her phone suddenly rings. The call is from her husband, Michael, who demands to know where she is, while Allison tries to explain the situation. Allison tells Michael to call the police, explaining that she has been kidnapped. However, Michael does not understand what she is talking about and insists on speaking with Emily. As the signal gradually weakens, Allison moves toward the stairs to stabilize the call, but the connection drops. Peering through the basement door's peephole, Allison is startled when she sees the killer walking into another room. She begins searching the basement for a way out and enters a back room, where she finds a window that has been boarded up. Suddenly, she hears the killer returning to the basement and quickly rushes back to her previous spot, pretending to be dead. The masked man grabs Emily's body and starts dragging it out. At that moment, Allison's phone begins to ring again. It is Michael calling back. The killer hears the sound, traces it to Allison's trouser pocket, removes the phone, and destroys it. He then drags Emily's body out of the basement and switches off the light before leaving. Exhausted, Allison checks another woman's pocket and finds a piece of chocolate, which she eats. Sitting on a chair, she begins to think about what to do next, but behind her, a shadowy figure can be seen lurking. Suddenly, the lamp flickers and then goes out, plunging the basement into darkness. Moments later, the masked man grabs Allison from behind, but it is revealed to be a nightmare. Allison grabs a screwdriver from the table and goes to the back room, where she attempts to remove the nail securing a boarded-up window. She manages to take off the wooden plank, but to her frustration, the window is also reinforced with steel bars. Suddenly, Allison sees someone walking outside. It is the killer, approaching the basement while carrying an oxygen cylinder. Realizing the danger, Allison quickly leaves the back room, returns to the main room, and pretends to be dead. The killer brings the oxygen cylinder into the back room and drops it there, but he does not notice the damaged window. He then picks up Allison and carries her out of the basement, and for the first time, Allison is able to see the inside of the house. The killer takes her to a dressing room and places her on a couch. Inside the room is Emily's body, which has been dressed and had makeup applied. The killer then removes Emily's body and leaves the room. While alone, Allison notices a photograph of a young woman, and when she hears the killer approaching, she quickly lies back down on the couch. Upon entering, the killer begins to undress Allison and dresses her in clothing that matches the woman in the photograph. He applies makeup to her face, including lipstick, and puts sunglasses on her. Finally, he carries Allison into the dining room, where the other women are already present, all wearing changed outfits. After placing Allison on a chair, the killer turns on a slide projector. It displays photographs of a family, with the son's face scratched out. He then plays old country music and leaves the room. The killer later returns with a jar filled with juice and places it on the table. After he leaves again, Allison, who is thirsty, drinks a small amount of the juice. As she looks back at the slide projector, the image shows the family photo, now showing the wife using a wheelchair. The next slide shows the woman surrounded by her friends as they celebrate her birthday. Moments later, the killer re-enters the room with the same woman, now elderly and breathing with the help of an oxygen tank. It is revealed that the killer is her son, and he wears masks to hide his deformed face. After the killer leaves the room, Allison speaks to the elderly woman but mistakes her for Helen, a friend from her past. The woman angrily blames Allison and the others for her current condition. She becomes increasingly unstable and throws a glass cup onto the floor, shattering it. The noise draws the killer's attention, and he returns carrying a birthday cake. The slide projector continues showing images of the woman surrounded by friends during her birthday celebrations, revealing that the killer is attempting to recreate that moment. When the killer notices lipstick on the jug, he becomes suspicious and grabs a knife. In response, Allison also takes a knife and threatens to kill his mother if he comes any closer. The elderly woman reveals how deeply she hates Allison and her friends, explaining that they knew about her husband's infidelity but refused to tell her. Allison insists that she is not Helen, cuts off the woman's oxygen tube, and runs away as the killer rushes to fix the oxygen tank. Allison reaches the front door but discovers it is locked. She then spots a telephone and realizes it is working. She manages to call 911 and speaks to an operator, telling them she does not know her location and that she has been kidnapped. The operator is able to trace the call and informs Allison that the police are on the way, giving her a moment of relief. Suddenly, the killer grabs her from behind, but Allison manages to stab him in the thigh with a knife, forcing him to release her, and she escapes. She runs to the back door and tries to open it, but it is locked, and the killer shows her that he has the keys. Allison locks herself inside a room, securing the chain lock, and inside, she encounters the killer's mother, who is still alive. The woman curses at Allison, continuing to mistake her for Helen and blaming her and the other women, whom she believes are her friends. She threatens that Allison will not leave the house alive. The woman recalls how Helen and the others knew about her husband's affair but refused to tell her, instead laughing and making jokes. Once again, Allison insists that she did not hurt her and that she is not Helen. As the killer attempts to force his way into the room, Allison runs off. The killer manages to break the chain lock and pursues Allison, but she is nowhere to be found, and it is revealed that Allison has returned to the basement. Minutes later, the staircase lights explode, causing the killer to rush downstairs, his suspicion growing. He attempts to turn on the room lights, but they do not work. While searching the basement, he discovers the corpse of another woman and then comes across Allison. However, Allison has swapped clothes with the other woman and attacks him from behind. The killer overpowers her, and in the struggle, Allison grabs a screwdriver from his pocket and repeatedly stabs him in the neck, killing him. With the ordeal over, Allison takes the house keys and cautiously makes her way out of the basement. She reaches the front door, opens it, and steps outside, finally regaining her freedom. As she approaches the gate with a smile on her face, she suddenly collapses, foam forms at her mouth, and she takes her final breath. It is revealed that the juice she drank earlier was poisoned. The slide projector then shows how the killer's mother lured all her friends over for dinner and poisoned their drinks. The film concludes with the camera focusing on Allison's lifeless body, lying near the house gate. Okay guys, that's all the recap about Play Dead from 2025. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.